Jorge Gutierrez is well known for his superhero Nicktoon El Tigre as well as his Day of the Dead animated film The Book of Life. Now he's bringing a whole new adventure to Netflix. Maya and the Three is a 9-part miniseries set in a world based on Mesoamerica. It stars Maya, a warrior princess who must embark on a quest to fulfill a prophecy, defeat the god of war, and save humanity itself from destruction, meeting many different heroes, villains, and gods. But of this huge cast of characters, who ranks as the most noble and which are the most vile? I'm Caleb with Wicked Binge, and this is Maya and the Three Good to Evil. As usual, we'll be starting with the most pure and noble characters and working our way down. These characters are the good. Easily getting our gold medal of good is Pichu. Despite the stereotypes you may have about barbarians, Pichu is easily the most honorable character of the main group. Looking at his backstory, Pichu was a barbarian who spared the life of one of his enemies. Unfortunately, this act of mercy came back to bite him, resulting in him losing his family. Despite this, Pichu never becomes bitter, nor does he regret his act of mercy. Once the team recruits him, it's made clear that Pichu is more than willing to fight for them, and he cares about their mission just as much as he cares about getting a warrior's death. Pichu is the first of the heroes to die, sacrificing himself so his friends could get away as he tries to buy them time fighting Lord Mikta on his own. But even before his most noble moment, Pichu is shown to be kind and caring, even being willing to carry the others when they get tired. This guy truly has a heart of pure, heroic gold. For this silver medal of good, we're giving it to Kamazotz, the god of the bats, and his wife Zayanya, aka Zotz's parents. While they don't play a huge role in this story, they do play a significant part in making sure their son was a good person. Zayanya actually sacrificed herself when Zotz was a baby so that he and Kamazotz could get away safely. As Zotz grew, Kamazotz did his best to raise him and teach him about honor. Later on, when Mikta threatened Zotz's life, Kamazotz jumped in without hesitation to try and stop him. Much like his wife, he was willing to exchange his own life for his son's. Both of these characters are incredibly noble and loving, and even though they weren't major players in the story, we wanted to give them the credit they deserve. Moving on to the bronze medal of good, we're ranking Zotz, the Prince of Bats, next. Yes, Zotz ranks only a little below his parents. I guess his whole family is just that good. Despite his vampiric aesthetic, Zotz certainly tends to lean more into his princely side. When he first comes to collect Maya, he's polite and insists that he doesn't want to hurt or fight anyone, only engaging in combat when he's forced to. Later on, after the death of Maya's brothers, Zotz returns their broken weapons to the Tekka family and refuses to fight King Tekka while he's injured. Zotz believes in being honorable, and he never really breaks this code. As such, it's no surprise when he joins Maya's quest and fights alongside her, even dying in the final battle for her. However, there are a couple things that keep him from being put any higher. We have to remember that before falling in love with her, Zotz had originally planned to sacrifice Maya so that he and his father could overthrow Lord Mikta. Even if he didn't stick to this plan, he still had it briefly. We also have to mention that, considering his relationship with Asad and what she says about him, there's a chance that Zotz wasn't always so honorable. But hey, what teenager isn't a bit rebellious? Following him is the briefly seen Gran Brujo. As the original leader of the Luna Island, Gran Brujo was kind and encouraging to all young wizards, including a young Rico. Even when everyone else saw the boy as a stuttering mess, it was Gran Brujo that always believed in him. Even after Rico's peasant magic accidentally killed him, Gran Brujo never had any resentment and encouraged both Rico and his daughter, Gran Bruja, to look after each other. For all the kindness Gran Brujo gives, however, we are detracting a couple of points for pushing Rico to perform on stage. We know that he was just trying to encourage and help Rico, but if he had just let Rico go and then encouraged him later on in private, he might have saved both Rico and Gran Bruja a lot of pain. Next up is another noble and kind leader, Queen Tekka. Being a queen isn't easy, but try being a queen, mother, and warrior. As a whole, Queen Tekka seems to represent the best of the Tekka kingdom. She's patient and kind, but also knows when to be firm and take action. She's protective of her family and her love for them always shines through. She was even willing to be a loving mother to Maya despite Maya not being her daughter by blood. That's extremely admirable. But like many motherly queens before her, Queen Tekka can sometimes be a bit too stern. Even if she was just trying to encourage Maya to be a diplomat instead of risking her life in the fight pits, tearing her luchador mask was a bit harsh. Thankfully, this was just one bad call, and it is hardly enough to put her any lower. Ranking next on our list of heroes is Chimi. In one episode, Maya describes Chimi as having the kindest heart she's ever seen. While it may not always seem like it, that's pretty accurate. Although Chimi grew up isolated and shunned, thus causing her to be pretty blunt and fairly aggressive with strangers, it's obvious that she had a pretty big soft side. She's kind to all animals and is even willing to eventually trust humans again despite all the hurt they had done to her. Chimi is also able to convince the god of jungle animals that humans are capable of being allies instead of enemies. Although it may sometimes take a bit for her more positive traits to come out, Chimi still has enough of them to earn her a high spot on our list. Following her is fellow trio member and love interest, Rico. Being yet another outcast, Rico starts out pretty timid and unsure of himself. He even comes off as a bit of a con man at first, pretending that he's missing a leg and only agreeing to guide people for money. But once Maya and the others start to encourage him, we see more of Rico's hero side come out. Although he's easily intimidated, he's far from cowardly. He's sympathetic to the others on his team and pushes himself to be strong enough to help his friends. Rico is even willing to forgive Gran Bruja despite how badly she treated him. While we don't blame him for starting out as someone so nervous and self-conscious, it was amazing watching him grow as a character and become braver throughout his journey. We finally come to the titular character and awesome eagle heroine, Maya. Maya encompasses many traits that you can find in a classic hero. She's brave, determined, and cares deeply for her people and family, even being willing to die for them. We see her go from someone focused on her own destiny to someone who learns how to be more responsible as a leader, being more diplomatic and considerate of others. This even extends to a couple of her enemies like Sapati. Unfortunately, some of her other classic hero traits aren't quite as positive. Her determination can sometimes make her incredibly prideful, not to mention her fiery temper that comes out when she's angry. For a good chunk of the series, she only cares about completing her destiny through battle and is willing to take risks in order to avenge the deaths of her brothers. This, of course, leads her to lying to her team about their true goal, which is pretty messed up. When you're going to try and take on the god of war, you should probably let people know ahead of time. This isn't exactly the first time she's lied either, considering how often she snuck out to go fight despite her parents' wishes.
Having two mothers stinks.
Still, Maya regrets this and does what she can to make up for it once her team learns the truth. This, combined with the fact that she's literally the one who defeats Lord Maitland in the end, means that we can't really dock her too many points. Just under her, we're going to rank her Jaguar Brothers, Lance, Dagger, and Shield. We don't see these guys for very long, but we do see why Maya loves them so much. Though they're goofy and pretty dumb, they're just as eager to protect their kingdom as their father and sister are.
No, I'm Shield, I think.
Speaking of their relationship with Maya, while they may be a bit protective of her, they never look down on her for being a girl or for being younger. They even take the time to get her some pretty fantastic birthday gifts and are willing to help Maya eavesdrop on her parents. That last one may be more on the sneaky side, but it still shows that they're loyal to their sister, something that continues on even in death. While not the most noble characters, they still make for a pretty great trio of brothers. Wrapping up the Tekka royal family, we have King Tekka. Right off the bat, King Tekka is a pretty lovable dad character. He's goofy, loving, and always ready to defend his kingdom, laughing at the odds no matter what they are. It's obvious that he loves his family, trying to protect them over and over again, even when he's hurt. However, there's one pretty big flaw that King Tekka has that puts him this low: the time he cheated on his wife with Lady Mikta. Yeah, that's a pretty big oops, and although King Tekka clearly regrets it and is apologetic towards his wife, we still can't really excuse it. Whether it's another human or a goddess, cheating on your wife is never a good call. Heading over to the Jungle Kingdom, next is the Widow Queen. Despite her name, the Widow Queen actually isn't too bloodthirsty. Well, for the most part. Outside of the fairly dark origins of her name, she did briefly order Rico and Maya to be fed to her hyenas, but that can partially be blamed on Rico for being condescending. Thankfully, she gets a lot nicer after that point. We see in a flashback that the Widow Queen had been the only one in the Jungle Kingdom willing to give Chimi a chance, and when her father decided to burn down the jungle, she tried to stop him and then warned Chimi of the fire when she couldn't. As a queen, she's willing to stand up for what's right, even if it means going against what she knows her father would have wanted. As such, she comes off as incredibly mature as well as kind. It's no wonder people are able to respect her at such a young age. Wrapping up the good, we have the goddess of life and death herself, Lady Mikta. For a while, Lady Mikta was just like her husband, only interested in power and willing to do whatever it took to get it. This included only marrying Mikta for status and later creating a half-mortal, half-god child. However, when Maya was born, the love Mikta felt for her was enough to change her interests. Instead, she tried to do what was best for Maya, giving her up to a loving family and visiting her each year on her birthday. Once Lord Mikta started coming after her, Mikta began doing more to protect Maya, first in subtle ways, then in outright defiance. Though it's hard to overlook her original motives, we get to see all the ways that Mikta has changed from a power-hungry goddess to a loving mother. Given that she fights for Maya until the very end, we feel that Mikta gets enough of a redemption to keep her in the good tier. That's it for the good characters. Now it's time to descend into neutral territory. This is the gray area. Starting off this tier, we have the powerful couple Sapati and Cabrakan, the goddess of alligators and the god of earthquakes respectively. Although they share the same spot, we're ranking Sapati just a little above her husband. While both of them tried to trick and capture Maya, it was Sapati that recognized how dangerous it would be to try and overthrow Lord Mikta. When her husband started raging out, Sapati actually helped Maya escape, and after Maya saved her, Sapati returned the favor by showing her where the Jungle Kingdom was. Additionally, both characters returned to help Maya in the final battle, ultimately giving their lives. While they may have started out as antagonists, they definitely didn't stay that way. Just under her, we have the god of jungle animals, Vukup. Although he's part of the team of gods that fight Maya and the three, he's easily the least evil of the team. It does take a bit for his good side to come through though, as we first see him trying to guilt trip Chimi, claiming that she turned her back on her animal family when she agreed to work with humans, while also guilting her for not being strong enough to save her family.
I'm ready when you are.
However, Vukup ends up actually listening to Chimi's claims that humans can be trusted and even decides to switch alliances. He teaches Chimi how to summon her magical arrows, and in the final battle, he works with both Chimi and the Widow Queen to try and slow Lord Mikta down. As such, Vukup easily rises above his former teammates in terms of morality. Finishing up the gray tier, we're going to rank the Gran Brujo next. Although she's the new leader of Luna Island, the Gran Brujo doesn't quite live up to the legacy of her father. Racked with grief about his death, Gran Brujo blames Rico and exiles him, forcing him to live as an outsider. She's also incredibly dismissive of Maya's quest, even trying to trick her just so that Maya leaves her alone. Although we understand her belief that Luna Island shouldn't have to suffer because of the Tekka Kingdom's mistakes, it was still rude. Thankfully, Gran Brujo does eventually decide to fight for Tekka after being convinced by Rico, and the two of them are even able to make amends when she acknowledges how wrong she was. Although it took a while for her to get there, we don't feel like the Gran Brujo was bad enough to rank any lower, even at her worst. That wraps up the gray area. Now it's time to shine a light on the more wicked characters in the world of Maya. These characters are the bad to evil. Getting spared from the podium of evil, we have Asad, the goddess of tattoos. In many ways, Asad is parallel to Maya. She's all about fighting and proving herself, but tends to do so in a more vengeful and malicious way. She likes taunting and messing with her victims first before going in for the kill, and can be pretty bloodthirsty when she feels offended or slighted. She outright ignored Zat's warnings about killing Maya, which ultimately caused the two to break up. We should also note that while she clearly cared about him, Akot really didn't seem like she respected Zotz, frequently encouraging him to ignore his more honorable side. Still, we'll give her a couple points for refusing to reveal where Zotz was, a choice that ultimately cost her her life. Poor Akot. Taking the bronze medal of evil is Chivo, the god of dark magic. Being such a powerful god and wizard, Chivo naturally serves as Lord Miklin's second in command and leads his team of gods. Like many other wizards, Chivo looks down on Rico for using peasant magic partially because he's intimidated by it. However, this fear doesn't stop Chivo from being a total jerk. Throughout their battle, Chivo is constantly putting Rico down, shoving his tragic past in his face, and even forces Rico to call himself worthless. Ouch! He also seems to be the most loyal to Lord Miklin, standing by the god's side until the very end. Even his small acts of mercy, like fixing Rico's staff, have a cruel or selfish motive behind them. It's really no wonder why this guy has such a high ranking in the universe's pantheon. For the silver medal of evil, we're giving it to Stave, goddess of illusions. Talk about someone who doesn't know the value of mercy. In a battle with Pichu, Zabe begged for mercy, which Pichu gave her. Unfortunately, Zabe wasn't grateful. Instead, she later knocked Pichu out and killed his entire village. She even taunts him afterwards, calling him weak for being merciful and saying that he's undeserving of a warrior's death. Later on, when they fight again, Zabe again tries to taunt him into abandoning his merciful ways. We also see her mocking Lord Miklin's victims as a sort of entertainment for herself and the other gods. Honestly, this goddess is about as wicked and cruel as they come. However, there's still one person that's worse. Of course, we're awarding the gold medal of evil to Lord Miklin, the god of war. As the god of war, Lord Miklin absolutely revels in killing as many humans and gods as he can. He's even willing to kill his own followers like Chivo and the rest of his team. Additionally, the only reason why he didn't just kill Maya as a baby was because his wife convinced him that he'd gain more power if he killed her as an adult. Gee, how kind. Never mind the fact that he seemed to revel in the idea of also causing pain to Maya's adoptive family once he killed her. If this guy has any goodness, it's that he apparently genuinely loved Lady Mish and seemed heartbroken when he learned that his wife had betrayed her. However, not even she could convince him to give up any chance of power, and Miklin ends up murdering her, adding to his already long body count. So, while he does have a bit of a heart, this hardly counts for much. Simply put, Miklin is a villain through and through, and more than deserves to be called the most evil character of this series. Well, that's our list, but before we go, we've got a few additional medals to give out. Easily earning the Lust medal is Zatz, considering he fell for Maya from the moment he met her and flirted with her even while fighting. Yeah, there was no one else who deserved this medal more. The Gluttony medal is going to Lord Miklin. While he may strive for power above all else, he gains this power in a pretty gluttonous way, by literally eating the hearts of other gods. Yikes! As for the Greed medal, we're giving it to his wife, Lady Mikta. While we can commend her for growing out of this mindset, we still have to acknowledge that at one point, she was just as obsessed with gaining power as Miklin was, perhaps even more so. We're giving the Darwin medal to Lance, Dagger, and Shield. These guys may be strong, but they're dumb enough that they sometimes forget which one they are in the trio. That's pretty dumb, but at least they have good hearts. Funnily enough, the Pride medal is going to their little sister, Maya. It's obvious that Maya is very proud of her skills and starts the show wanting a chance to show others what she can do. We're also giving her the Wrath medal because boy oh boy, she sure does have a fiery temper. Finally, the Envy medal is going to Akot. While she may seem like she just enjoys taunting Maya, it's pretty obvious that she's jealous of her and her skills, especially once Maya earns the attention of Zotz. Alright, that's all we've got. Let us know in the comment section if you agree with our ranking and tell us what we should cover next. Remember to hit that notification bell and binge our Good to Evil playlist, where we break down the morality of the characters in your favorite cartoons, shows, and movies. But most importantly, stay wicked.